All right, everyone, so we are going to do binding stance. And we are going to, if you watch our other videos, I took the name dropper. I have an arbor draft, a name dropper, and a signal park, okay? And I wanted to start doing boxes this year, which I did. I was doing it on my arbor draft, which is my favorite board so far, and my newest board, and I didn't want to chew it up. Boxes, even when you're practicing on, I practice on a 4x4 at home, and that helped definitely getting my balance down. So that being said, I wanted to beat up my name dropper because it was my first jib board, and I wanted to, see how it did and everything like that. I took it out today. There's still snow on it, and we just got snow. That being said, I was getting toe drag. So we talked about the width of the board. If you're riding powder, it's going to be important that you don't have toe drag, because if you do, when you hold an edge and you lose it, you'll wipe out on your face, and it's not going to feel good. We don't get that much powder here in Minnesota, so I don't usually ride when I'm too busy when it's snowed. So I have to go back to basically, or I ride on the hard pack most of the time, and so I'm not catching toe because it's hard packed. It's usually ice balls. All right, so I'm taking out the 2 screws because this is a name dropper with the track system in it, right? So you can take out the screws. The best thing for stance width, stance setup is to experiment with it. They say take the bindings all the way out and go ride it. And I've done this too. I brought a screwdriver to the hill. You want to be cautious with riding with a screwdriver in your pocket because it could stick you. I just came down to the car and moved the bindings, but supposedly you got to move them. You can move them out as far as your stance can be, as far as you can. You're supposed to be shoulder width apart. That being said, I have found mine to be like, it all depends. That one has the signal park that we're putting on, has the where they were. So experiment with your stance is the best way to figure out your stance, and that's what I've done. And it's not as wide. I've seen some people ride this wide, and I'm like, how can you? And granted, I guess it's more. It might be more stable if it's in between there, somewhere around there. This would probably be like 28 inches. I don't have a tape measure on me, but the thing I found is that when I hold an edge, I want my knees to buckle inward because that puts the most amount of pressure on your edge, right? I can't do that with the board further, with my stance further apart. My age and maybe my flexibility with my knees could be part of that. So experiment yourself on your width and see where you like it. Now let's move into the boards or the angle of your bindings. So I'm old school, and I ride typically, so this is really weird that these are like this. I don't know if I changed them too much, but my front was on 12 and my back was on 9. I had problems today with that because if you duck foot out too much, and this is your own personal preference, but you tell me or do it yourself and see what happens. I duck foot out too much, and when I had that, I had a problem holding an edge, right? So I went in the park today and did a few boxes, and then after that, our park doesn't, the beginner park doesn't have a rope tow, right? So I had to go all the way down the hill, otherwise hike back up. And I hiked a few times, but it was getting old in the deeper snow. So that being said, I rode switch the rest of the way to the hill. Always riding switch. You can always improve your snowboarding by riding switch as much as you can, right? So that being said, I rode switch the rest of the way down the hill, and it didn't make it easier for me to ride switch even with my ducked out rear foot. So I'm going back to probably somewhere around a 7 or 8 or 5 rear, and I still like the almost 18 front. And that's me. This is all your personal preference. of how you want the board to ride, right? So once again, take it, you know, if you have the opportunity, a lot of snowboard places have set up like this at the bottom of the hill with the screwdriver there. Otherwise they have I have one of those flip out little screwdrivers that I can carry on me that you won't stab you, right? So that being said, another thing about this has the track system versus the 4-bolt. Where did I put the 4-bolt? Sorry. Where did I put my 4 bolts? Okay, anyway, so I'm going to switch over here now and find my 4 bolts. So this has the track system, which is 2 bolts that Burton designed. Where did we put the plates? Oh, they're there. Okay, so plates. Get this stuff, coffee, of course. So now we got the 4-bolt pattern for the signal park. So most typically non-Burton will have the 4-bolt pattern. Whether you're supposedly Burton has that good track system in it, and my wife has the ones where it bolts on the outside and you get more grip, or you have more contact with the base of the board. All right, so we're gonna go back to doing stance width. So first, you always got to remember what the front of the board is. And funny is there is no good thing I put the stomp pad little things on here. I love these things. People ask whether or not you should use these or not. The name dropper has those pads, so I didn't do that with that. But I love these little the stick-on ones. I've never had a problem with them. It always gives me grip. I put it close to the binding on the back because your front foot's going to be here and your back foot's going to be here. It's not going to be up here. You can put them in the middle, wherever you feel comfortable with. I feel comfortable as close as I can to the binding that won't affect me moving my binding. Because I'm still experimenting with my own, you know, bindings. All right, so putting your bindings on, we want to make sure that we line them up. Okay, so the reference, this board doesn't have any reference point on it. The only reason why I know where I'm putting them on this board is because it still has where I had them on when I was riding it. So that being said, put them in there, get my 4 discs, right? I leave the bolts out for the moment till I get my I originally put little black dots on where I had my thing set up. So we're going to put our 4x4 disc in there. We want the front at 18, which is going to turn this thing. Now I had this originally shifted over. Okay, so what are we at? We're at 18. Yeah. Okay, so 18 on the front. And you always want to make sure that the buckle, or the buckle's on the inside and the other part is on the outside. Otherwise, it's going to be really weird strapping in, because you lean over this way or lean over this way, depending on what foot you are, to strap in. All right, so back one. My kids, I'll tell you this, I set my kids up on 18 and regular, or no negative, right? So it's like at 0. The reason why is because when you're beginning snowboarding, going duck foot is you have to develop balance, right? And with balance, the more straight your feet are, or one turned and one straight, going forward down the hill, like Super G, I believe, both their feet are turned the same way. Back when I was younger, that's what they used to do, so that you would have more ability to carve back and forth and you weren't fighting your knees so much. Because the more you can buckle in your knees together doing Super G, or going fast and carving and holding an edge, was easier for me. It's up to you, right? All right, so you guys can't see anything because these straps are in the way, but that's all right. Put your disc in, 4x4 disc. Put it in. I am going to do not as negative as I normally do. So that would be right there. That's like it's either a 3, or no, it's probably a 5. And so I might change this at the hill. What would 9 be like? 9's way too much. Yeah, it's like a 3. It's either a 3 or a 5 that I'm putting my back foot at. All right, so this one's gonna be fully across. This board has to be wired. Granted, I'm gonna have heel drag if I, interesting. All right, I'm going to try to keep from doing too much heel drag on either one of these. All right, now that I've got them lined up, where do I want my stance? So there is no reference point. This one I can see I'm probably this would be the furthest out right here. Okay. This would be the furthest out on the board, which, you know, is interesting because you're supposed to ride with more. That's a wide stance. Yeah, I can't do that. So where I had my stance was right, let's see, where the binding mark was, right there. So I had mine 1 notch each direction up. Yeah, so I had it 1 notch in, or 1 bolt hole in, or 1 bolt hole that way, okay, on each one of them. Which, this is my stance. I think it's like a 25. It's not radical by any means. Like I said, depending on your comfort, how you feel, go out and I'll do a video, because I've seen these and I like them. But I want to try it for myself. I want to go out and ride with it really wide ones and then really narrow and see what happens. I've seen those videos by some of the other people doing snowboard videos, and good tip for you is, you know, if you really like snowboarding, watch a lot of YouTube videos. They're out there to help you, and that's awesome because it's a great community. All right, so we got to wrap this video up. Bolting them down, you want to make sure these don't have the Loctite on them. It's worn off. So Loctite's a blue compound that basically tightens up your, or it locks in so that your don't come loose. I'm going to be taking these things on and off so much that unless I find a pair of freestyle bindings for cheap, or maybe a different kind of binding, it's always good to try. So we did a video on how to get cheap stuff, cheap snowboard stuff. Yeah, so like I said, go look at this time. February, March, they put everything on sale because the next year's stuff is coming out. And if you can get a 2-year-old stuff, the stuff's still good. The technology is still there. I mean, these bindings are awesome. Burton bindings, you know, most of the product companies that are out there build good stuff, right? You're not going to buy something that's going to fail real quick. I do have a cracked board, a cracked Burton board. I bought it on eBay cracked, and I was like, oh, well, I want to do rail, so I don't really care if it's cracked. I haven't ridden that board since. Maybe that's a good video. Riding a cracked board, huh? So anyways, back to this about stance width. Getting it bolted down. You want to make sure these are tight, and you might want to double check these every time. You can move your foot on your board. If you start moving your foot and your binding starts moving, time to stop and go get them tightened up, because you could lose. I saw one where it was coming loose and the guy didn't go tighten it. I don't think he ever fell down or anything like that. So that being said, all right, so we're good to go to ride tomorrow. And I'll do another video. I like doing these videos for you guys because I like learning myself and keeping myself accountable on riding. So yeah, and that is your stance width. I will do one where I go out to the park and ride with my stance wide, ride with my stance narrow, tell you what I think about it. You try it yourself. You know, the best thing about snowboarding is always constantly experimenting, seeing how things change in climate and whatnot. All right, so that's what we got. Till next time.